Oh, nothing.
No, I mean, when I asked the question.
Oh, the one about the friendships. Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. So I want somebody that's going to be trustworthy and reliable. I want somebody that's like going to be supportive. That's going to be there for me. Like if I have a problem or something or need help, they're gonna be there. Somebody who shares common interests so that we have stuff to talk about and can do things together and not get bored. You know,
Okay.
Share the same core values.
Okay. If you don't mind me asking, what do you think those values are?
Um, those values. I think it'd be nice if they shared my similar political values. They don't necessarily have to share all of them, but like a value kind of like equality for people and like equal rights for different social groups. Um, that I guess that's kind of the main thing. Just democracy. Freedom of speech. As long as it's not like really mean hate speech.
Yeah. Okay, I understand that. Do you work or study? If so, where do you work or what do you study?
Yeah, I'm currently working as a librarian in a public library system. So my work involves like helping people out with their reference questions, helping people find materials, find books, oftentimes find information online through the internet and through databases. Also help people use the computers and the equipment in the library. And I guess my job has changed a bit right now because of coronavirus. So we've just started reopening a couple weeks ago, but we kind of have limited services right now, and we have to limit the number of people in the building at a time. And our library used to have programs in the library and meeting rooms, and those are closed right now. And there's a couple virtual programs that are going on, but it's right now it's just kind of bare bones service right now.
Yeah. Okay. How did you end up as a librarian?
Well, actually, prior to that, I taught chemistry for a couple of years, and I just got kind of tired. I just got kind of tired of teaching. I got kind of tired of doing all the course prep and the grading papers, and I was always having to take work outside of home, and I just kind of wanted to change. And I was interested in like information and learning and books, and it just seemed like being a librarian would be a good choice because it still has that element of teaching people and helping others, which I do enjoy, but it's more one-on-one helping. It's not, because what I did was I would teach, like I was like an adjunct faculty member in a community college, and you'd have to give these lectures to like 80 to 100 people at a time, and I just prefer to kind of give more one-on-one instruction, and you kind of do that as a librarian because you're giving instruction to people, but it's more like individuals or it's small groups, and you can kind of tailor your instruction to the person that you're helping, and and I don't have to take work home with me. I work when I'm there, and then when my shift is done, I'm kind of done for the day, and that's kind of nice too. And,
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds good. Outside of that, what are your main hobbies or interests? What do you like about them?
um, well, personality typology is probably one of my biggest interests, and I like it, like exploring the different systems, like socionics, and then I kind of heard about your system, and I thought, well, this sounds intriguing, and then also just interested in like the MBTI, the Union Cognitive Functions, the Enneagram, and I think the systems. Well, I think they just provide intellectual stimulation. They're just kind of interesting to think about in themselves, but I mean, they also have a lot of practical benefit because you can really understand the people around you. Using the different typologies, and because different people kind of like socionics, people value different things, and people are naturally strong at some things and weaker at other things, and so you can understand people better. I think.
Yeah, I actually agree.
Hmm.
It's interesting being able to reconcile disagreements between people when others aren't able to. Do you have any significant other, or have you had one? If so, compare yourself with them. How are you different?
Okay, I am single right now. I don't have a significant other. Honestly, I'm kind of happily single right now, like not being tied down to anybody. Um, but yeah, it's probably been several years since I've had a significant other, since I've seriously dated anybody. But I guess how that significant other was different for me. I don't know. I think he was maybe a little more outgoing. I was a little more quiet. Um, I think maybe he might have been a little more controlling, maybe, because some things he kind of wanted to be a certain way, just so. But I think we were similar in that we had similar intellectual interests, and so we had some interesting conversations.
Okay. In general, in choosing romantic partners, what's a deal breaker for you, but not for most other people?
Um, a deal breaker for me, but not most other people.
Yeah.
Oh, hmm. I don't really know because I think the things that I can think of that would be deal breakers. I mean, a lot of other people would probably say the same thing. Like,
Yeah.
somebody that cheats on somebody, or somebody. Like somebody that like was very reckless, and didn't care about their finances and stuff, maybe would be a deal breaker, because I kind of want financial stability, and so if I was going to marry somebody, that could be an issue. Maybe somebody that smoked, because I want to keep myself self healthy, and there's bad effects of secondhand smoke. So if we were together, that could be a problem, especially if they were a heavy smoker, or they didn't want to do it away from me. And then their breath sometimes smells, and I guess that could be a
Yeah.
deal breaker. I guess it wouldn't be for everybody. But
I could see that being pretty common.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's all right. I don't usually get an answer to that, but it's very helpful when I
Yeah.
hear it, so I still ask it.
Mm.
How easy is it for you to feel relaxed? What do you do to relax?
It's usually fairly easy. Um, I guess what I do to feel relaxed. Um, Sometimes I just go for a walk outside and listen to some music. Maybe just enjoy nature, or I um, so sometimes I just check Facebook or something, and just kind of catch up on that, and um, I don't know, watch something funny on TV. Um,
Okay. In general, how physically active are you? Why?
um, I'm moderately physically active. It's kind of mostly because I know that exercise is good for me. I mean, I guess I would kind of prefer that I didn't need to exercise, that I could just kind of I don't know, just sit in a chair all day or on a couch or something. But although I do like going for walks outside, so I would probably do that anyway. But I've been trying to do more vigorous exercise to kind of get my heart pumping, because like cardio is healthy and they recommend that you do it like 3 to 5 times a week. So I try to mix it in with a jog, and then I try to do some toning of my muscles and my body, kind of work the different groups.
Okay, that makes sense. Hello, Stefan. Stefan joined the chat. What do you think that you're best at? When you receive compliments or praise, what are they about?
What am I the best at? I guess I'm pretty good at. Well, I am very reliable, and so people say that, but I kind of feel like anybody could be reliable if they just tried. um, I am pretty organized. So I guess I get compliments on that, and I'm good at explaining things to people in a way that people can understand it.
Okay.
And I'm good at organizing, both like physical things and also just like data and information. And I guess that's kind of part of what attracted me to the job of being a librarian, because I could kind of use my skills.
Yeah, I see. Does your sense of morality ever deviate from what is normally accepted as moral? If so, how?
Um, I mean, not. I guess it depends on who you're comparing me with. I think most of my morals are pretty typical for like the society I'm in, but I know that not every like for example, I don't have any issue at all with gay marriage, and but I know there's other people that disapprove of that. So, but that's kind of I mean right now that's coming more and more widely accepted. So I mean it's not really that out of the norm. I guess, well, maybe like I wouldn't do it myself, but but like I think like prostitution would be okay as long as both people consent to it. I mean, and other
Yeah.
people say, oh, that's just totally wrong. But if both people are okay with it and both people know what they're getting into, I mean, and like in some situations, I suppose I would think nudity would be okay as long as you know have a designated place where you do it. You know, I mean, you're not just being nude anywhere where you go, but like in a designated place. I mean,
Yeah.
so yeah, I think in general I have pretty liberal political views.
Yeah. I don't consider those things that out of the norm, but I think that I just might be the people I surround myself with might be more
Yeah,
accepting than average.
and most of my friends are pretty liberal in their beliefs. Um, but I do know people that are like quite conservative, or they're like like they're religious fundamentalists, and and they're going to think all that is really immoral. So
Yeah. Okay. How strong are your emotions? When your mood changes, is it for an observable reason or is it seemingly random?
can you repeat that question again, please?
Yeah, sure. How strong are your emotions? When your mood changes, is it for an observable reason or is it seemingly random?
I think there's always a reason behind my moods. Although sometimes like I can be more moody than others. Like I could have the same thing happen, and then like one moment in time it'll bother me a little bit, and then like another time like it'll really bother me. I'll fly off the handle. So that I may not always know. Okay, why is it so different? But generally, if I'm sad, I know why. I know why I'm sad, or if I'm happy, I know why. I can pinpoint that reason, and I would say that. Most of the time I'm pretty even keeled emotionally. Um, but yeah, sometimes there are things that I can be quite emotional about, and then those emotions can be kind of hard to control sometimes. Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm really more or less emotional than the average person on the whole.
Okay. The whole world has united under a single world government. It is ruled autocratically. That ruler is you. What's your plan?
Um, I would, well, I would try to rule democratically. I would try to kind of ask the people, well, what do you want to what do you want to see happen, and kind of try to, I guess, I try to go with the majority, but then you'd still want to meet the needs of the minority groups, I guess. Well, focusing on the majority. It's hard to answer because I don't really want to rule the world. That's a huge responsibility.
Yeah.
I would like to, kind of ensure that equal rights for all groups are on place. Like there's no unfair discrimination or prejudice. I would like to see more equitable distribution of income, not like communism, but just so that everybody's basic needs get met, and that you know people, everybody has food, water, shelter, all those basic needs, and people have health care, and people aren't going to die from some illness or something because they can't afford it. Something like that.
Okay. Yeah, that's probably a good thing to strive for.
Hmm.
What kind of sports do you play, or have you played, if any, and what are your achievements in sports, if you have any?
Okay. I I don't play. I don't play any sports. No. I mean, I did dabble in a few when I was younger. I sucked at every single sport I ever tried. I mean, you would think with all the sports out there, there'd be like one I'd be pretty decent at, and I never found it. But I mean, like when I was in school, we had to take PE, physical education classes, so we did different sports, right in our physical education class. Like we did soccer and we did softball and we did basketball and volleyball and I mean in college I was on an intramural volleyball team and I sucked and then I tried bowling and tried a bowling league. I sucked at that. I mean, I tried racquetball. I didn't suck as much at that, but I still sucked. So I mean, I am good at walking. People have said, I don't know if that's really a sport, but I can walk pretty long distances and at a stretch, I can walk like several miles at a stretch and not get tired. So that's about the extent of my athletic ability.
Amazing.
Okay. Somebody wrote a comment. We be donkeys and elephants, Broski, in the chat.
Oh, that's Arrow. Yeah.
Okay.
It's interesting. Do you often keep things clean, and is this important to you? How strictly do you organize your possessions and living space, and is this important to you?
Okay. I do keep things fairly clean. I think that being sanitary, being sanitary is important because I mean I guess just to avoid sickness and disease and you don't want to have like bugs crawling around in your apartment. So I mean, I think part of it is kind of aesthetic as well. So I think like cleanliness and hygiene is more important than just having everything in its place. Like I don't mind a little bit of clutter, like if it's like just papers and stuff, but if it's like food crumbs and stuff, I mean that's just kind of gross. If you have that laying around and
yeah.
But generally, I do keep things really clean. I wouldn't when I was younger. I wasn't as organized with my things, and I've kind of learned to be that way. And since I've gotten a system now, I really kind of like it because I can kind of find what I need, and that's really nice. And like my parents are both really messy, and I would go to see them, and it was like sometimes it was just hard to even get around the house and find what you needed. And it's like I don't want my house to be a disaster like that, so I'm not going to be that way. So I kind of was determined to not become that way. It's like I'm gonna not let that happen. And they're the kind of people that kind of want to hoard everything. Well, there's a small chance it might be useful someday, and that's true. But if you have so much junk, you're not even going to be able to find it or even remember that you had it when it does come in use. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, for me, it's like, well, I'll just buy a new one if that happens.
Yeah. Becoming organized despite background. That's good character.
Okay.
Makes a good point.
Okay. Yeah. There's a couple comments down. Laura, social democrat mom. I'm a mom. Social democrat. Or political beliefs, maybe.
I think so.
Or.
Have you ever led people? If so, how many and what was the situation?
Have I ever left people?
Led. Like acted as a leader.
Led people. Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of Facebook groups that I currently am the admin for. So I guess that's kind of like a leadership role, because I promoting the group to like other related groups, and then I'm the one that's kind of setting up the rules for the group, and kind of moderating the posts, making sure things don't get out of hand. And I guess I've never really had a formal leadership position like in the workplace. Like, I've never been a manager or anything, but I guess when I was a teacher, I kind of led a group of students, because when you're the teacher, you're the one in charge, and you're setting up the rules for the class, and you're making sure that they turn in these assignments, and you're the one that's grading them, and you're the one that's you're setting an example for them. And so I guess in that sense, or working in the library, you're kind of you're kind of the one in charge, instructing people how to do things. So I guess in an informal sense, yes, but I haven't really had many formal leadership positions.
Okay. What is your teaching style, if that's something you're able to describe?
My teaching style.
Like, did you have any particular methods or idiosyncrasies, etc., while you were? Okay.
Well, when I started teaching, I honestly, I was terrible. My student evaluations were really bad the first time, and I just remember I was really upset about it, because I had worked really hard, and I prepared all these materials, and I think earlier on I was kind of too strict with my teaching. Like, I think I expected too much out of the students. I expected them to get it right away. I explained it to them, like, why aren't you getting this? And students said, you're moving too fast. And I would be like, well, we got to get through the material and the syllabus, because what's going to happen when you go to the next level, and you won't, and so I wanted to make sure that I got through all the material. But then students were telling me I was going too fast. And then I was kind of like a stickler for deadlines. And I think it was because, when I was a student myself, I always took deadlines very seriously. And I was always the student that turned in my homework on time, and I did it the way the teacher said to do it. So I kind of expected that my students would do the same. And like I said, I was one of those, maybe I was kind of sheltered, like when I was a college student, because my parents paid for my tuition, okay? And I was mainly a college student. I had like a part-time job that maybe I worked like 10 hours a week just for a little supplemental income, but I had time to study and stuff. And some of these students, they have children, they're working full time, and they have all these circumstances that literally made it difficult for them to turn things in on time. And I thought they were just being a slacker, they were being irresponsible. Yeah. And I kind of had to learn that the hard way. And then after a couple semesters, I kind of learned that I had to be a little more flexible. And so yeah, I kind of got better. Got better as I went along. But I think for me, it was kind of more like I was better at, I was best at teaching students that were, interested in the material itself, and they cared about the material. And it was harder, like when it was more like, okay, you got to make an emotional connection with these people, and you got to change their lives. And it's like, I didn't feel like equipped to deal with that part of it. It was more like, here I am. I'm the conveyor of information. I'm going to pass this along to you. And I mean,
Yeah. Okay. Pretty sure I know your type right now. I'm just doing some things to confirm.
okay.
How do you behave in unfamiliar company? Do you immediately enter into a conversation, look around for a while, wait until someone approaches you, etc.?
Um, I, I think I start by looking around a little bit at first and kind of seeing, is there anybody I know, or anybody that kind of looks approachable. But I think and then if there's not, I'll kind of walk around a little bit and see who else might be looking for somebody to, like if it's at a party or something, and look for somebody else to talk to. And then I'll kind of, I guess I'll kind of gradually ease into introducing myself. I'm not like the life of the party type, but I'm also not the wallflower either that's hiding in the corner, not talking to anybody. I guess I'm kind of in between.
Okay. Are you quick-tempered? If so, in what cases?
Um, usually not, but I can be on occasion, like if something, let's say that something breaks down, like a computer breaks down, or the internet, I can start cursing to myself and start banging on the desk. Why doesn't it work? Especially if I'm in a hurry and I'm doing something I think is important. Or I think if somebody insults me, I'll get really defensive and probably insult them back, which I know is not good to do, but it's
Okay. What do you think of conspiracy theories? Which do you believe in, if any? Why?
um I don't think I believe in any. I think they're I mean, I think they're just like not, I mean, they're not valid. They're kind of just somebody's just crazy mind that kind of got messed up somehow. And
Yeah.
like people are just trying to brainwash people, I guess. And I guess it can be amusing what some people will fall for, but I mean, I don't believe in them myself.
Okay. What were you like as a kid? You sort of went into that, but not completely. Did any moments or aspects of your personality at the time stand out to you?
Okay. Well, kind of, I guess as a kid, I mean, I was generally a pretty good student. I was, pretty reliable most of the time. Most of the time I was a good, well-behaved kid, except sometimes I would like to argue with my parents or my teachers. If I thought something wasn't fair, or if I thought, okay, this assignment's stupid, I mean, I complained to them and say, this is dumb, but then I would still end up doing it anyway because I still wanted to do good in the class, and I wanted to avoid getting in trouble. But I was socially awkward. I was socially awkward as a young kid. It would be like I wouldn't always pick up like on unwritten social rules unless they were explicitly stated to me. So yeah, I had a hard time in middle school, trying to fit in with my peers. I don't know, I do dumb things to try to get attention, and then it failed. And then, so I think in high school I kind of became kind of became more quiet, and I kind of learned to enjoy my own company more because I wasn't really accepted by other students, and I I wasn't interested in like following like what the latest fashions were and stuff like that, and I wasn't really interested in dating. And a lot of high school students, they wanted to date, and I didn't, and I was focused more on like academics. Like I really wanted to do well in school because that was the one thing I was good at. I wasn't popular, I wasn't good looking, I wasn't good at sports, I wasn't good at music or art, but academics was kind of the one thing I was good at. So I kind of built my identity around that.
I see. Okay. I think that you are TIS, and based on what I put into my program, there's a 94% chance of that at this point. But I
So,
stopped
so
because
what is TIS? What does that
um,
stand for?
it corresponds to
I'm
LSI,
still trying to
and
learn. I'm still trying to learn your system. Your acronyms.
yeah, well, it would be closest to LSI and other forms of socionics.
Okay,
Um,
okay.
Out of curiosity, what do you type yourself as under the model of socionics you usually use?
Um, Jack. So see, I've gotten a lot of different types in socionics depending on the socionics model. So Jack officially typed me as LII, logical intuitive introvert.
He types a lot
Um,
of people as that.
yeah, let's see, I've gotten by different people. Um, you're going to laugh at this. Victor Galenko typed me as EIE.
Really?
Um, yeah, and I had a Russian socionicist type me as LIE. I've gotten typed by Encyclopedia Socionica as EII. I got another type of LII by Ibrahim Tensor. Um, I think Ethan Skies, he typed me as SLI. Like I said, I've kind of been all over the map, but if she breathes, she's EII/LII.
What's
Okay.
interesting is is Golinko's typings are almost always the same as my own typings.
Hmm.
So, and I'm kind of surprised when there's a deviation, but you
Hmm.
do seem TIS to me, and I'm confident enough of that. I think um, that I'm not going to change it at this point. I saw a lot of evidence for that.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, and yeah, I'd be interested to learn more about it because like I guess in like Model A is kind of what I've studied the most, and I read about all these quadras, and I kind of relate to like alpha and delta, but I don't really relate much to the beta quadra.
Hmm.
And I guess it's because of the way it's presented. It's kind of um, like these beta quadra that people would they value S like SE like extroverted sensing. They make them sound like they're dictators, and I mean,
Yeah, the thing about
or they're
that
like
is I
really,
think
or like the beta NFs are like really emotionally dramatic, and I mean,
that is actually
and I
pretty
see
true.
myself as being a little bit more even keeled. I mean, like
Yeah.
I mean,
Um,
people will say I'm somewhat expressive, but not like a drama queen. So I
you
mean,
don't seem like it.
yeah.
The thing about those descriptions is I think there's a bias against the beta and gamma in most of
Hmm.
those descriptions. I think they're made out to be worse than they really are.
Yeah.
And that contributed a lot to me thinking I was alpha for a long time when I'm the
Oh
exact
yeah, yeah.
opposite.
Hmm. But
Um,
aren't you?
sorry, go
Didn't
on.
you say you're like NET? I think was that.
I thought so. but I was also heavily considering in IT at the time, and I determined after that that's my actual type under this system. The
Mhm.
NET was sort of a relic from older Model A systems where almost always typed as alpha and T, but I don't think I am under
Mhm.
this.
Yeah, yeah, because for a long time, I kind of thought I was LII because that's kind of what Jack typed me as, and then I kind of just sat with that for a while, and I kind of had this self image too that I kind of wanted to be that type because they're like the super intellectual types, but then I got the sense that they're kind of more abstract, more innovative than
Yeah,
I am. So I felt different there, and then I always felt like I was more emotionally sensitive. Like like I care about having good relationships with people and wanting to get along with them. So then so then I thought, well, maybe I'm EII because
the thing
and I
about
care
that,
about morals and stuff. And then Model A, if I'm TI lead, my role function would be FI. So maybe that's where that's coming from. So
I will say that the TIS is pretty intelligent in a lot
mhm,
of domains. For example,
yeah.
they generally do the best in academics, like you said, because that's the integral type of the school system.
Hmm.
Um, in fact, I think a lot of people who make it into like Ivy League universities, although obviously not all of them do, I think a lot of them are this type because they know how to conform to this system well.
Hmm. I know I was
But
never good enough to get into Ivy League, but I mean, I was pretty good.
yeah,
I wasn't the top
obviously not
10
all of them
person
do.
in my class, but it wasn't the valedictorian. It was still like I had a big high school class, so I was like maybe like number 50 out of 525. I mean,
That's pretty
which is
good.
still quite respectable, but probably wouldn't
Yeah,
get me into Harvard. But I mean,
yeah. I think it's usually TIS and NIT that do the best.
mhm.
Um, is there anything in particular you're wondering about? Like if I saw any evidence of that element of the type?
Well, I was kind of interested in more in these because you use subtypes. Like what subtype would I fit into? Do you
The thing
think?
about that is, and this has been disappointing to a lot of people, but it's actually very difficult to determine subtype through the questionnaire format. Um, I can try and think about it. Because yeah, the thing about it is, um, you were basically just like pouring out all of the information that you know about yourself to me, or at least a lot of it, and that's on the intellectual level, which corresponds to type. So
Hmm.
there's this thing develops where almost all of the information you're giving me is related to type and not subtype. Um, Although I will have an article out soon that should have descriptions of each of the subtypes in a way that it should be pretty easy to determine. And the thing about this is,
Hmm.
as long as you're being somewhat honest with yourself, or at least trying to, unlike with type, I don't think it's so deep that there will be a huge chance of mistyping.
Hmm.
And I'm gonna try and get that out soon. I think I'll
Okay.
do it after the one I'm working on right now, make socionics pay rent, and then
Yeah.
functional
So,
position
so I
tree.
guess which ways do you determine subtype if you're not doing it from this questionnaire, or are there like I don't know, like body language cues, or because I know like some sociologists like they will use a lot of visual identification for type.
Yeah, well, I'm not entirely sure yet how to
Which I'm
identify
kind of on the
subtype
fence
reliably.
on myself. I mean, I would never not use it as a sole criterion, but I mean, like, I do kind of think that there's some patterns between different types and
Yeah,
how they physically present.
I think that Golinko's signs are pretty, even though they seem to correspond or at least the ones I've seen correspond to type, I think they're pretty good. He uses like the direction the direction of one's eye movements in general to suggest temperament, and I think that's pretty reliable if you use it with other things and you're careful enough. And he also suggested that logicians have an asymmetrical smile and ethicals don't, and that's been even more reliable. But as for other signs, I haven't really tried to look yet.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look into it, but it hasn't been something I've been working on right now. Usually the only sign of subtype I get is when I ask someone about them in childhood. They'll say they were way more of blah, blah, blah than they are now. And that'll suggest that they changed subtype. But that didn't happen in this case. You might be reliably stabilizing or something, since you seem like a pretty clear TIS.
Okay.
And a TIS subtype is one of the stabilizing subtypes. But
so are you trying to say that the subtype may not be apparent unless like somebody kind of looks like another type? Like if they're clearly one type, then they don't really, their subtype doesn't stand out, or they're.
That can happen if you're not distinguishing the layers. Basically, what I'm saying is a good way to determine subtype is to hear how someone has changed over time. So if they say that they used to be really reserved in childhood, but they're not now, that suggests that they're an extroverted subtype and used to be an introverted subtype, and something like that.
Okay.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, if you want, I can, once I develop some questions that hopefully will be better at identifying subtype, we could do a follow-up.
Yeah, sure, that'd be great.
Okay. Yeah. I'll try to work on that pretty soon then.
Yeah, I had questions on some of like those parts, like the functions, like especially the extroverted sensing function, because I know you're probably looking at it way differently than Model A, and
right.
Because like Model A, like they'll say like these LS, well they call it LSI, but they're like really strict disciplinarians, and they're all about the hierarchy and stuff. And for me, I kind of wish that we didn't have status, like kind of like everybody was just kind of on an equal level, and and like nobody was trying to dominate over anybody or think they're better than anybody else.
That could be a subtype or a profile thing. Although I will say that while TISs in my system have a slight tendency that way, they're not going to be like huge, like really hardline disciplinarians. They're unless they're like one of a few specific subtypes, they're going to be pretty reasonable with it at least. And some of the subtypes aren't going to be like that at all, and that could definitely apply to you. And a big reason for this is that SE in the TIS is more of an internality. It's used for their own self-preservation as opposed to like being applied outwards onto the world. So it's definitely more likely that like an SET or maybe even a TES would be like that as opposed to a TIS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it seems like in Model A, like in the way they're describing SC, it's like they're more like outwardly aggressive people, and they're pushing their will on the outside world. And whereas I think for me, it's like when I use SC, it's almost like more in self-defense kind of, or kind of like, kind of like don't invade my physical space or something like that, or or don't touch me, and it's kind of like that instinct to pull back because they could hurt you or something like that. It's more.
Yeah. I can see that. And I like the example you gave with your with teaching. That seemed like a
Mm-hmm.
good example of how a TIS would use SE.
Mm-hmm.
They
Yeah.
don't seem like aggressive, but they might be
Mm-hmm.
strict in cases where they have
Yeah.
hierarchy.
Yeah. Because I don't think I saw myself as being like like aggressive really in the teaching style, but it was kind of more like matter of fact. This is what you need to learn, because when you go to the next level class, they're not going to start from the beginning. You're going to be expected to know these things, and you're going to need to have these skills to move on. And or like somebody got a bad grade and then they wanted to challenge their grade with me, and I said, well, you needed you needed like 70 points to pass, and you got 50, and I can go over each question with you and kind of show you why you got the points you did. It was more like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Out of curiosity, what did Golinka provide any reasoning for his typing?
um, well, yeah. Well, so he said that. Well, he thought it was no. He thought it was more intuitive than sensing, and I think it was because of largely because of my interests. Because my interests were kind of more like in things like psychology and typology and philosophizing about the world, and I was less interested in the physical, like just like physical activity for the sake of it, and
Yeah.
like having to maintain your body is a pain, but it's necessary. So he thought it was an intuitive, and then he thought it was more ethical because, well, first he thought it was fair. He thought it was more on the expressive side emotionally, and he thought, I guess because I talked a lot about like feelings and wanting to relate to people and morals, and
I see.
so and then he kind of thought I was kind of between introvert and extrovert, and he thought, and I think because he was considering EII as a possible type, because he doesn't really look into quadras so much, but then he thought it was more of a dynamic type than a static type if you use that dichotomy. So
Yeah.
So yeah, it was, and he uses model G, which is a different model, and so.
Yeah. I just find that case
And then also
interesting.
more rational than irrational. He easily saw
I agree with
that.
that.
Yeah,
I
I do
agree
too.
with that. I saw that very
yeah.
quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just found it interesting because even though I do use a different model, my typings are very similar to his.
Mm-hmm. So it's kind of interesting because that would be the dual type of EIE.
Yeah.
Now is that common? Like you'll type somebody like one type and then like they got typed by somebody else as the dual type.
I think I've seen it occasionally, especially with celebrities. I don't know if it's happened much with people that I have typed myself. Although I don't always ask them about like what they were typed as by others, so I can't really say. I can see how it would be common though, because there is a lot of similarity between the dual types in the sense that they're in the same quadra. They're both either process or result.
Mm-hmm.
They're both either rational or irrational. There's a lot of important similarities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Dual typing seems more common in Myers speak. Myers speak.
Yeah.
Okay. And then like these other functions, like I guess how are you seeing those? I mean, the TI is kind of obvious, but like I don't know, like the NE. I mean, that would be like the Model A. That would be the polar function or the vulnerable.
Yeah, I don't know if I necessarily saw that, but you might be able to find evidence for it with time. Um, One thing I've noticed is that, and actually this is something where I agree with Golinko, is that the control or the ignoring function is often a greater problem than the break or the vulnerable
Hmm.
because there's
Okay,
less
so
energy for it.
yeah, so for LSI that would be or TIS and the way you do it, then that'd be TE.
Yes,
Okay,
especially TE minus, um,
okay,
because it is possible to do a mirage shift into TEN, and that's not quite as bad.
yeah. So how would you describe TE minus? And like how could that be problematic for
I don't know how I've
someone?
observed it in this type specifically. Um, I kind of need to like look into it more. Um, because I haven't really studied this concept enough that I can generalize it to all types. I just know that in general it's often a point of insecurity due to the discrepancy between um, one's informational strength in that element and their ability to allocate energy to it in a way that is directed into action. But I don't know how that manifests in the TIS yet. If I find
Okay. Well, I could
yeah,
review over that. I'll review over the Model G profile for Golenko and
yeah.
see what
Um,
he says about it.
if you end up finding like any serious holds there, just tell me, and we can always discuss that.
Yeah.
And
So
if
so
I
how closely do you follow Golenko, and then like where do you follow Golenko, and then where do you deviate from Golenko?
I used to completely follow Golinko, and at this point, I am building off of Golinko and slowly separating from him to an increasing extent. But some things are still based on his ideas. But this is basically me moving away from Model G and attempting to improve upon it. But since this whole model is sort of a work in progress, there are still some points where I'm sort of relying on Golinko until I get to that. If that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah. Um, I will tell you if you'd like once I'm able to answer your question about how TE manifests in the TIS. Um, I just don't know if I can give you a satisfying answer right now.
Okay.
Is there anything else you'd like to know?
Um, um, maybe just a little bit about these different functions as you see them in the TIS.
Okay.
It's like a brief summary.
I mean, so I think an important thing to look at that I love to emphasize is the social mission. And in your case, the goal to be implemented is sort of, and you might not even notice this, since sometimes it's like slightly unconscious or slightly in the subconscious. Is a TI plus, which manifests as a creation of order, and is sort of looking at, and it often manifests like looking at regulations to know what to do. Um, And then how this is expressed and how this is implemented is by managing the environment and eliminating discomfort within the environment. So how that ends up manifesting is the TIS knows how to fit into society by understanding all of the rules behind it, and they do this to create a prosperous, comfortable life for themselves.
Yeah, because I know like especially in Model A, they'll talk about comfort as being SI. So I guess how does the comfort you're describing differ like from the SI comfort?
There's a lot of similarity, but
And I think that's why I was like so confident in being SI valuing because I think a lot in terms of like comfort and discomfort. Like I want to like both on the physical level and mental and emotional level. Like
the thing about that is that
like
I don't think
structuring a lot of my life to avoid pain or possible pain. I mean,
I don't think that there's like I don't think there's anyone who is neutral to comfort. Like even a beta or a gamma, I think, still desires comfort. It's just
well, everybody has pain receptors. I mean, I guess everybody, if they touch a hot stove, is going to reflexively move their
yeah,
finger away, unless their pain receptors are dead. I mean,
yeah.
well, I mean, in that sense, at the most, but
I guess like yeah, all I'm saying is I think what people consider to be SI valuing is often a very low bar. And that can lead to a lot of betas being mistyped as alphas and gammas as deltas, or in my case, gammas as alphas.
Okay. So what type do you identify with now then? Because
I think that I'm in.
I thought NET was alpha. I thought that was sort of like ILE. So you switched.
I think that I'm in IT.
Okay, NI. Oh, so that would be like ILI.
Yeah. And that's also, I think, I'm pretty sure my type under Model G.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think in Model G, like at first I was pretty skeptical of EIE, and then I talked with somebody that knows quite a bit about Model G, and I kind of looked at it more closely, and I said, yeah, that could work. And then Galenko typed me as the normalizing subtype, which I guess would be kind of more like LSI, so
Yeah.
it may not be,
I mean, I'm considering it since just because deviation isn't that common, and I can see where he was coming from, and maybe there is the chance that you are under this system as well, and FEN with some subtype that would subdue that. That just isn't what I saw, and that wasn't what the evidence pointed to. Yeah. Is there anything else?
I think you kind of covered it. So if I got any more questions, I'll send you a PM through Discord.
Okay, but yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, it's been really interesting.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Look forward to learning more about your model.
Cool. Yeah, I will have more stuff on that soon.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I'll let you go.